She's a 3-time Olympic medalist in speed skating, an officer of the Order of Canada, and the first Canadian ever to defend a gold medal in the Olympic Games. That's just a few of her accomplishments. CATRIONA, DOAN, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Okay, so I imagine this, you trained so hard to make it to the Olympics, and your dreams are so high, and then you win gold. Tell me what that feels like.
Well, in a way, I wish I could remember that moment because, as you said, you trained for years and years. And I'd already been to 2 Olympics before that, one with a fall. So it was sort of that extreme low to now all of a sudden the extreme high. But I think it's like anything is that the moment happens so quickly and it doesn't sink in. I'm going to say, I would say probably 10 years it took for it to sink in. And that's because you still look at how it wasn't a perfect race. And so you keep kind of going, okay, tomorrow, and then the next games, and the next of this. So I don't know if I've ever really celebrated the gold medals.
Oh, that's too bad. You mentioned that fall. That was so hard in Norway. You had that fall, you came in last, you had so many hopes. Tell me about that moment, because that's a totally different kind of processing than what you just described.
Going into an Olympics, and I would say an Olympic sport, you put sort of everything on results, and you put a little bit of your own person. You put all of your success, not just as an athlete, but as a person, and sort of who you are on results. So when you fall and you fail, you kind of take that on as a personal thing as well. So that's probably one of the toughest things I've been through. And yet, when people ask, would you change it? It's part of your journey, so I wouldn't. And it allows me to be able to talk to other athletes who are going into a situation or who have dealt with failure and be able to relate to them.
That's so good, because it is a lot of ups and downs, successes and failures. Why do you think you were able to succeed in the way that you have? What is the secret sauce?
Oh, I am a stubborn Saskatchewan Scottish girl. You know, my mom taught me from an early age, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter what you've achieved, it's a work ethic. And that's what I think I had above some people. It was never good enough. Even my Olympic races, I look at and I see the mistakes. It's not an easy way to be because it's a perfectionist, and when you're chasing that perfect race, it doesn't exist. Perfection does not exist. So it's not an easy way to be, and I don't know if I would wish that upon people, and yet it allows you to succeed in certain ways because you continue to strive forward.
They always say that your greatest strength is your greatest weakness, right? So it's a double-sided sword.
For sure.
But you know, you talk about training to be a world-class athlete like you did, and we talk about the physicality of it, but there's a mental game that goes along with it too.
Yeah.
How did you get yourself in the right headspace, the right thought processes to win?
It's tough. I mean, I would say even in the years when I was winning race after race, you still doubt, because doubt isn't easy, but it's easier to set yourself up that, oh, if something happens. You know, it's scary to think about failing, but it's scary to think about succeeding as well, because attention goes on you. And yeah, I dealt with stress all the time. You know, I wasn't a super confident person, super confident athlete, but that's when you rely on the people around you. To me, if you can have that group that you can be vulnerable in front of, that's when you succeed, because you're allowed to be your real person. And real people have fears. Somebody who says they're not scared of anything, no, I'm going to call them out.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah. So I think that's what helped me succeed, was the fact that I was okay to be real around a group of people.
That's so good. And you know, I want to walk your faith into this too, because you've been very public about the fact that you have a strong faith in God. How did faith intersect with all of that and help you through some of it?
It was after '94, that's when I would say I discovered faith and became Christian. You know, faith is up and down though too, because even you know, I would look at my skating career, and my faith was probably the strongest before an important race, because that's when prayer became. I had time. I was stressed. Exactly, or so I thought. You know, and I knew that sport was a platform to be able to talk about faith. So I think the best thing though is that, again, I was real, and I've never pushed faith on anybody. But I think it's just part of your own journey. But again, did not mean that my faith was strong all through my skating career. But it was probably, you know, when my prayer life was a lot stronger. Because what was I doing? I was skating. I was training, and I was skating, and I was racing. And that was my life. And it sounds a little selfish, but I think actually as an athlete, to achieve that level, you have to be a little bit selfish.
And you were depending on God so much for the everyday, and sometimes in normal life we start taking that for granted. We need God, but we don't realize it.
Oh, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I don't have time, or so I think.
Yeah.
You know, I would say right now in life, we were just talking about winter, and what I love is once the kids have gone to bed, I have a backyard rink. And even in the -30, I bundle up and I go outside with my hose and I flood my rink. And I will say that, you know, there were a few weeks there where it was snowy and I didn't get it cleared. Going out at midnight and flooding my rink is probably a really important time for me, for faith and for prayer, because it's super peaceful, it's quiet, and I'm going to say I'm not disciplined enough to take those moments when I should, so it takes me till midnight to be able to really realize that.
I so get that. I talk to God a lot riding my bike. I guess we all have our places, right, where we feel so connected.
Exactly.
But you need that in your life. Tell me about the biggest lesson you've learned about God through your life experiences.
Oh, goodness.
Small question.
Small, yeah. How long do we have? You know, I think even with sort of maybe a lot of people that I've met lately and sort of life experiences now, it's the fact that he's patient, you know, and I'm not. And I'm okay to admit that. I'm not patient. I like to be in control. And I was working with a group, and somebody had said, you know, I pray and I realize that if it's God's will, it will happen. And I said to him, I go, how can you give control like that? I said, I think about those words that this gentleman said, because I don't know if I can say those words right now, because I'm not in a position to sort of say, if it's your will. I'm too much of a control person. And yet I realize that even in those moments, God is patient with me.
It has been such a pleasure to sit down and just get a little look into your life.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on,
My
joining
pleasure.
us.
Thank you.